This is an overground production.
The timing does kinda line up with when people started reporting strange phenomena on a big scale. The Mandela effect, for example, really exploded in popularity around the same time, but people also started sharing more personal stories on internet forums about how time just didn't seem to be moving right anymore, or how reality felt off in subtle ways they couldn't quite explain. And it didn't help that in 2016, CERN released a video of what looked like a human sacrifice ritual taking place on their grounds, which they later said was a prank. And do I believe that? Yeah, first of all, I just think that's a funny idea. I love that they went there. And I also just don't think there was a genuine ritual sacrifice captured on camera here. For anyone who was already skeptical, though, they were even more skeptical after this.
But in a different reality. The following case took place on July the 16th, 2008, when a 41-year-old Spanish woman by the name of Lorena Garcia Gordo claimed to have woken up in a parallel universe. One night she went to sleep as per usual, and the following day noticed that there were small, unusual inconsistencies happening from the moment she woke up. The very first thing that caught her attention was that her bed sheets were not the same colour, and sat up in bed totally confused and disturbed. In fact, the sheets were not only a different colour, but were a completely different set. Lorena could find no rational explanation as to why this had happened. However, not to be deterred, she still had breakfast and headed off to work at the office, where she'd worked for the past 20 years. Not everything had changed at that stage, as fortunately her car was still in the same location where she'd left it the previous day. She then drove down the same road that she'd been driving on since moving into her apartment 7 years ago. Other than the bed linen, her days seemed to be starting out like any other day, but things would again take a strange twist when she arrived at the office. As she entered the building, she saw a lot of strange faces that she'd never seen or met before, but did not let that deter her in any way and continued to walk to her office. But when she reached the door of her office, she found a different name on the door, and it was not her name. Looking for a rational explanation, she'd figured she'd gotten off at the wrong floor in the building, but when she looked around, found she was definitely on the right floor, and it was definitely her office. So why had her name been replaced on the door? Confused and thinking the worst, like maybe she'd been fired, but nobody had the decency to tell her, even though she'd worked there for the past 20 years. She thought it rather insulting. She then proceeded to take out her laptop and then plug it into the company's network. Fortunately, she could see that her name was still on the company roster, but found she was now under a different manager and in another department altogether. Totally confused, Lorena had to compose herself as she had no idea what was happening to her.
But she couldn't remember ever changing departments. Panicking, she checked all over her ID, which proved to be the right name, picture and address. So she went to visit the doctor to check that she hadn't been drugged or was suffering from amnesia. All the tests were apparently negative. Stranger was the fact that she had split up from her old boyfriend of 7 years, 6 months previously, and had been dating a new man for 4 months. She knew him and his son quite well, so she called his number, but someone else answered the phone, only to tell her that no one there answered to the name she gave.
You know that you are in a parallel universe? Yes, I am saying it right, because some time ago a research was done on many people, where people were asked when Nelson Mandela was killed. You will be shocked to know that 2 answers were given on this. According to some people 1983 and according to some people 2013. This is because when people leave their universe and go to a parallel universe, where these major things are the same except some small things, as you can tell.
The Hadron Collider was set to be activated in September, but ran beam tests in the summer. After doing some research, I believe whatever this beam test was, it activated a shift, and Lorena is proof.
So you'll see, they were testing in the summer, testing the beam for full circulation, and the first successful circulation was on the 10th. This created a tiny black hole in the chamber.